Business rules management. Okay, this is an interesting one. Again, we're moving away from that traditional model of implementing IT, process change, re-engineering, configuring a system, hard-coded into applications and so forth. There is so much more flexibility now that goes into driving the value chain and the workflow within your business in terms of information and the end-to-end transaction from start to finish. Now, the business rule management is really about if there's a change. So let's say, for example, the Department of Health has introduced a 4-hour rule in terms of wait times in emergency departments. And that 4-hour rule says you must be seen by the triage and a clinician by the time a 4-hour clock goes off. Okay? Now, the health systems do not or did not cater for that simple change. Sounds simple, but how do you apply that and measure that within your systems? Okay? It's actually a business rule change. But the systems that they had in place didn't even consider that as a business rule. So there's all this sticky tape wires and mesh and rope wrapped around this system that you need to unravel and try and implement what sounds like a simple change. So you've got a politician announcing these initiatives, and then you've got 1,000,001 people going off scrambling to try and embed that within their business. And I'm sure if there's anyone within the public sector here knows what I'm talking about when a minister says something and then you go, oh no, how are we going to deal with that? We're not in a position, we don't have the capacity to do that right now. Business rule management is about applications now that exist that manage that for you. Okay? You can bolt it on, you can code it in. You know, for example, we've all experienced our electricity bills going up. Think about that as a business. How do you implement a tariff change within the billing system, within the customer, within the organisation that sends you your electricity bill? You think it's a simple thing to do? No, it's not. With this stuff, it makes it simple because you can configure the algorithms. You can put the formulas in, let the formulas do the thinking and the logic engine. That then interfaces with your core system and away you go. It's a better, cheaper, faster way of making a change within a system rather than spending months and months of development work and time and testing and so forth. Okay? And the example is, well, how does that go to that? Right? That's the power of business rules management. Okay, we're running out of time here. Service-oriented architecture, another technical one, but this again comes back to IT agility. Service-oriented architecture is around having systems that can bolt on to one another. So you have a finance system, you then want to join something else to it. You want to join something else to it. Join, 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 join. It becomes a seamless exercise by adding a different module to a system. Okay? That, in simple terms, is what service-oriented architecture is all about. So if you imagine one of those hexagons being your finance system, then you might bolt on a purchase order system, you might bolt on a project costing system, you might bolt on a customer relationship system, a billing system, and so forth. That is, in simple terms, what service-oriented architecture is about. This stuff is happening today. It's a question of how do we apply it in our business to drive value. I don't like words, I like pictures, so hopefully that made sense. Right, so that's agility and innovation. It just brings us on to the topic of operational efficiency. So, think about this. The green IT agenda, topic number 16. The average data centre uses about the same energy of 25,000 households. Imagine the footprint of carbon that's going to create, knowing that Australia now is going down the path of a carbon price, the Renewable Energies Target Scheme, and the Green Agenda, particularly by the Labor government. So, thinking about how you harness your IT from a green perspective will, in fact, actually have an impact on your business going forward. Okay? It will come at a cost. So, how do we deal with that cost? The options that I talked about in cloud may do that because you're leveraging effectively economies of scale. You're in a position now of no longer having to build these infrastructures for just your business. There are businesses out there that build that for you, and you can leverage off that economy of scale and share that service. They have a carbon footprint, you're leveraging off that carbon footprint. not duplicating, the heat that these data centres actually create. The air conditioning required to go into one of those centres, and you would have seen it as the backdrop of the previous section, around those data centres where you've got banks and banks of boxes and wires heating up the place. There's a lot of energy that gets consumed into that infrastructure. IT sourcing. This one's really about carving out which part of your business you need to remain in-house and which part of your business you can actually outsource or offshore from an IT perspective. It requires very strong definition of the processes that you do internally within your business, and it requires a very strong contractual and service level type arrangement with your outsource provider to meet the needs of those other peripheral services that can be applied by sourcing it to someone else, typically at a cheaper cost. Okay? So you can focus on your core business, specialists can focus on their core business to support your business. If you're in the business of making hammers, okay, you make the hammer. You're not in the business of running an IT department in a shop that makes hammers. Okay? So what do you do with your IT department that needs to, track suppliers and track customers and track shipping orders and track materials and all that sort of stuff? How do you do that better and focus more on your core business? And then ultimately, using that to your advantage as a business to drive customer value. Okay? Because someone else out there, if you're not doing it, will be doing it, and they'll make a better hammer at a cheaper cost and take your customers away. So it's all about carving it out. That was the best carve-out diagram I could find. Okay, virtualisation. Yes, it's a techno term. All it simply means, and I'll probably point to the picture here, there's a box. That box is called a server. That server has a lot of power. That server typically runs your finance system or your HR system. What virtualisation now does, these sorts of little applications sit on those servers and put these partitions in the server, virtual partitions in the server that basically, I don't know how to describe it, makes the server a bit schizophrenic. It has multiple personalities in terms of what it does as a box. Okay, so it no longer just simply runs your Oracle. It can then run your other applications. So not only your finance system, it'll run your time tracking system. It might run your email system. It can run your filing system, and all your printers are also connected to a server that it needs to run as well. Now, before, you needed a couple of these boxes at a very highly expensive way. The software that is now available is so smart, it can turn these boxes into virtual servers in one standalone box. So you only have to buy one. The additional cost is to buy the software that sits on that splits this box into multiple things. And it harnesses the power of that box and the capacity and the processing frequency of the chips inside that box and the hard drive to do everything. Okay, so it's at a fraction of the cost by buying the software as opposed to buying more boxes. That's what virtualisation is. I know it's technical, I'm getting the glazed look, I'll move on. System security, again, very important. I spoke before about the examples of our trade relations with our counterparts overseas. It's real, it's happening. How do we prevent it? And again, it's not a case of looking at it in isolation. It's looking at what systems and applications are you running in your business? What new ones are you embarking on? And how does that actually affect your IT security layer? Okay, you've got the web, you've got the firewall, you've got your computers up there, you've got your servers, your routers, desktops, PCs, laptops, and everyone's doing different stuff on these things. But we're all connected. And ensuring that, whether I connect into an expense management system or whether I log into our, server directory to download a file, we all do that. That's the mobile computing power, but is it secure? Is it working effectively? What if some of your functions are outsourced and offshored, and the connection between local, offshore, and outsourced back to local, that security loop needs to be rock solid and tight. There's a multitude of applications again. they're available, the cost is coming down. It's a case of asking those questions again. Disaster recovery. So, I always call this the red file. If you think about your business, when you break it down to its core elements, you make something, you sell that, and you get a return in terms of revenue. Okay? Disaster recovery is about business continuity, recovering from a glitch, and continuity planning, and IT recovery as well. So, if you think about it, the very fundamental building block is around, can your customers buy product from you? Can they pay you? Can you receive money? And can they call you and you call them? Think about that. That is the fundamental of most businesses. Okay. Now, if something goes wrong at any layer, that value chain is under threat. Okay. Now, you think about it again. Vodafone. They had a major outage last year where on a weekend there was no network access. Okay? That's a breach of their contract as a customer and user. But if you think about, if that mobile phone was in the hands of someone going through a critical condition, okay, or a critical event, couldn't pay a bill, couldn't call a contact, couldn't transact, couldn't do business, it's catastrophic. Okay. So it's a case of ensuring that there are fail-safe mechanisms in place. So, you know, airlines are very good at fail-safe mechanisms because they're flying a piece of metal at 900 kilometres an hour with 400 passengers in it. There's lots of fail-safe things in there. Businesses need the same about disaster recovery. An example I can give you is with a client who was going through a major transformation, was approaching its go-live. And again, the red file that was created was about that thick in terms of something going wrong when the major change was implemented within their business. And everyone from board level, the chairman, was already prepped. Okay, what's the situation boiled down into those four categories? Can a customer transact? Can we pay the bills? Can we collect the money? Can they call our business? Right? It boiled down to that. But underneath that, there's a whole raft of things that could go wrong. Okay? And that then manifested itself in a process, procedure, a discipline, fail-safes in place just to know that we could react. You know, when the fire alarm goes off, the warden puts on their hat and away they go. Same as that. That's the red file that needs to be considered in terms of disaster recovery. But again, the fail-safe that we can use as organisations today in terms of the trends of IT is to leverage the power of some of the businesses out there that are creating this stuff for us that solve that problem. Our businesses aren't in the business of creating disaster recovery plans. That's someone else's job. We're in the business of doing what we do and making hammers. Okay? It's someone else's job to do that. Leverage it. And when all else fails, deal with it. Okay, conclusion. I'll let you read that for a moment. That's a quote out of the paper, the 20 topics issues paper. And with that, thank you very much.